Don't go away, because we'll be right back with Nancy de Herrera. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. San Francisco-born author Nancy Cooke de Herrera attended Stanford University before leaving her Bay Area home to marry into a famous missionary family in Hawaii. She's had adventures from the United States to Europe to South America to Sub-Sahara and back to Los Angeles, where she now lives in the Hollywood Hills. She tells one story after another in her book, Never Tango with a Stranger. Nancy has been involved with fashion, high society, and spiritual meditation. Her love affair with India, where she became a pioneer of the spiritual movement, led to a interesting connection in the music world. Rockers. When I went to visit her in Hollywood Hills, she had to put me in between Red Hot Chili Peppers and someone else, and I was going like, what are these people doing at her house? It was also out of keeping for this woman that I had met during her high society phase. All You Need Is Love is the name of her other book, because you remember the Beatles, so maybe that all came around. I don't know. She'll tell us about it. So where do we start? Let's start in Hawaii.
Oh, well, I lived there at a very interesting time because it was during World War II.
Yeah, that's what I thought was.
And I used to do, when I was at Stanford, I majored in bacteriology, but I minored in speech and drama, which really helped. And then I did amateur theater all during the war.
But you were entertaining the
troops.
High troops.
That's right. That's right.
The important admirals that came through.
Well, it was wonderful because all the local women became the hostesses for Nimitz and Halsey, and then because the military wives had been sent home.
Oh, is that what happened?
They had to leave the islands.
Oh, so when they were there, you were part of what was the hosting?
Yeah, we were supposed to be with we saw a lot of Nimitz, especially. Such a lovely man.
Isn't that fantastic? I mean, we're talking all parts of history with your life, because we're going now to Paris. You left Hawaii. Things didn't work out.
No.
You had 3 sons.
Yes.
And you left Hawaii. You went to Paris for the first time in Europe.
Right. And that was when I met my husband. His name was Luis, but he was driving with the American team, so they all in Le Mans.
So they
all called him Louis. Yes.
So that
started our great love affair.
And that's what the book really tells about, because I've been reading it page after page.
Oh, I'm delighted. Well, what happens in the book Never Tango with a Stranger is what put me on my spiritual path.
Is that how it started?
Yes, his death.
Oh, so from Paris you went to London.
We were married. We lived in Argentina, and then we came up for a trip once to the States, just, a nice trip. Went up to Canada. Louis got so fed up with not even being able to have a glass of wine, he said, come on, let's go back into the United States. So we dropped back back into the United States. And one day we went to a place not far from we were on our way to, what do you call it, Las Vegas.
Oh, right.
So we stopped over and we went to Zion Canyon, which is so beautiful. And when we were coming out and I was driving the car, we were stopped on the highway by 3 members of the Army and asked us, what are you doing on this road? And I said, we're on our way to Las Vegas. And they said, you don't know there's been an atomic fallout? There was no radio reception, so we didn't know. And then they put a Geiger counter on my foot, and a needle went all the top, and I said, well, what is that? And he said, it's a Geiger counter. And I said, well, what does it mean when that needle goes all the way up? And he said, oh, it means you're hot, lady. And I said, oh, thank you. And my husband said, I don't think this is supposed to be funny, Nancy. But how little anybody knew. This was in 1952. And then we went back to Argentina. And 18 months later, he died of, the man who was the head of the Blood Society of the World came into the case.
Oh, the blood person, yeah.
Yeah. And Louis had been the amateur golf champion of every South American country.
You know, I haven't gotten that far in this story because I have you two having a marvelous life in Paris and with the cream of the La Creme in London and visiting with...
Everything was wonderful. And then we had a daughter born. She was 9 months old when he died.
So you were back in South America. You were in Argentina.
Yeah.
But his family was very influential all over South America.
His uncle was the president of Uruguay and was the first one to declare war against Germany.
So that was right next door to Argentina.
Same name exactly, Luis Alberto.
Is that right? The same?
Yeah.
And the rest of your family was in politics, banking?
Yes, yeah. And then after his death, I stayed on for another year and a half.
Oh, you did stay with the family
Well,
then.
I was very happy. I'm happy I stayed because I was there during the revolution, which then threw Perón out, and we were all involved in it.
But you talk about how you had to be so careful about saying anything about Perón, even though you were like the chosen families, right?
But they were targets.
Your families were.
The oligarchs, as he called them, were the targets of wrath on the part of Perón. We moved out twice out of our apartment and allowed some young people to come in with their machine guns to protect where we were because Perón had promised to burn that whole area.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, is that what finally brought you to Los Angeles again?
Well, after Louis' death, and then now I have 4 children, but 3 of them are Americans. And, and you know, it's really, it's hard, I think, for a single woman to live in the Argentine.
Is it?
And
because of this old style of mores
and they don't understand friendship with a man, with a woman, and I would never go out with anybody if I had stayed in the Argentine. And it was important for me to raise my children in the United States.
So is that at the period when you became a fashion ambassador?
Yes.
So that
I supposedly won a contest. I was sort of led into it by Cobina Wright.
Oh, right. I forgot.
And it's just as well because it was a trip of 72 days, and both the PR man and Cobina got sick and went home, and I went on.
Oh, is that what happened? Because Cobina Wright was
she was one of the
columnists.
Yes, she was one of the columnists.
Was a columnist at the Examiner or the Herald, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And she was very influential because she had a very good marriage besides being a society woman, and people always looked up to her.
Oh, she'd been an opera star also. She had an amazing background, and she was the only private person invited to the wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Because he had really been sort of engaged to her daughter.
Oh, is that right?
And then little Cobina got married to somebody else in the meantime, but he and Cobina stayed great friends. He always wrote to her as Dearest Madre.
That's why I thought your book was so interesting, because you have all these side stories that you keep telling us about. So you went on and did this fashion thing.
Yes, I did it. And then I did it for about 12 years.
Oh, you did?
And I went as a guest of the government everywhere I went. And I did this customs, and culture. And it was very good PR, so the government supported me. It didn't pay me, but supported me.
Yeah, that was great. And then India came after that?
Right.
Okay.
Yes,
Tell us about India. Here you are. Is it the 60s?
This is in the 60s.
And the Beatles are there? And you're
first of all, I went with a man named Tom Slick. You know, they're going to make a movie around him now.
No,
he was a very, very important oil man from Texas who had the Mind Science Foundation. And he said, I know you're doing a very interesting around the world trip. why don't you stop over in India and join me and this other parapsychologist? You'll find a lot of things to talk about.
I see.
So they were looking for supernatural things. I was looking for more knowledge about spirituality.
And you learned that there and brought it back
Right.
to the Hollywood Hills where you teach meditation.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
why does a musician need meditation?
Because, you know, I would say that 50% of all the rock and rollers that I teach have been into heroin or have been alcoholics. It's the tension. The tension kills them. Like, I know that you knew the Hot Chili Peppers. Like John Puslicanti, when he came to me, was an absolute wreck.
And what do you do? How do you calm them down?
I teach them to meditate. I have to see them 3 times.
Uh-huh.
And John, when he was the 3rd time, we were standing in the sun by my front door, and this woman that he lived with then, we both looked at him, we said, my God, go look at yourself in the mirror. He'd had these deep sort of lines on his cheeks, and now they're all... He came to see me about 2 months ago.
That's about the time when I was over there seeing you
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and he looks like a different person. He's so happy with his meditation.
And so what do they do the first thing that you teach them? You see them 3 times, and
Yeah.
then you take them in the back room.
Yep, into my bedroom.
Into your bedroom. And you give them a...
I'd give them a mantra. A mantra is a sound vibration that stimulates your heart knowingness. It's your intuition. Maharishi teaches that your intuition will never lead you astray, where your intellect always can.
Oh, that's interesting. So the mantra brings out the
heart knowingness, your intuitive knowingness. And it was interesting, the other night I went to this matrix that was shown at the Egyptian theater, and there were about 8 people talking, mainly in alternative medicine, and so much of it, they stress, is it's your heart that does the healing, not your mind.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, then stress then is the killer
Is the
because
killer.
it's making your heart beat too fast, right?
Stress is the killer. Originally, Maharishi said to me when he heard all the things about our progress, he said, but their progress is killing them. And I said, but Maharishi, everybody in the States seems to live with a lot of stress. And he said, how would they like to learn something that would make it so that stress never became de-stress?
De-stress, right.
And there it is.
So by meditating, it slows down your heart.
That's right. Your whole metabolism.
Your whole thing.
Yes. Yesterday I taught a man who's a champion board skater.
Oh.
He showed us a little thing to see at night. I just couldn't believe that anybody
Oh, the energy that
could
they
do
have.
what
Yeah,
he
yeah,
does.
it's fantastic, yeah.
That's right.
And
So-
they live under stress.
Oh, anyway, and also I've done some of she's the tattooer.
Oh.
Her name is Condi, Cat Condi. And when she came,
She tattoos people?
she does the tattooing.
She does a tattoo.
And she said that when she does tattooing, she's so close to them that a lot of the negativity from them can come into her. And with meditation, it's like a shield. Your morning meditation sort of insulates you for the day. And then you're out and people can't take as much of Joan away. And then at the end of the day, you have another 15, 20 minutes. And it's like taking a spiritual bath.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It is. You have to learn.
I know. You've been so great to give us all this insight. Yeah. And we can see, like, from everything you've gone through has brought you on this path, has brought you to this.
Right.
And now you can sit down and teach people how to take care of themselves.
And you know, Donovan, the Scottish singer, he's coming in about 2 weeks. He and his wife always stay with me. And they're working with David Lynch like crazy to get meditation taught in schools.
Nancy, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, Joan, it seems so nice to see you. I haven't seen enough of you. We've known each other for, about 30 or 40 years?
Maybe.
A long time.
So it's good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Keep writing. JAQUINN1@AOL.com and 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. See you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.